Hello, welcome to another video on the Scouring Early Access. Today's match is going to be a 1 versus 1 ranked match. And the game mode is turned on for Reforged. And I guess, let's see. From here I spawn on this orange human. Bottom left half of this map. My enemy spawns in the top right part of the map. Here pretty much my first time playing Reforged, I guess, in a while, against an actual player instead of a AI, just to see what random new stuff there is. But I guess I decided to play a ranked match. And here, just like in normal classic mode, you could say, just do half the peasants on lumber mill, half on barracks. But this time you don't actually get extra gold when you make a sawmill. But I think it does allow you to get the upgrades for your archers. And over here, my enemy, Tails, playing as blue human. Did his build order auto differently, I guess. But he does somehow have his archers in production a little faster than me. Probably because his workers didn't really have to run as far as my workers had. Over here, but he did use way less workers to make his buildings. Made a smithy. He's getting a tier 2. And I guess just making all the archers for now. And here I'll just making archers, but in this Reforged mode, it's sort of annoying in my opinion that units are being produced like twice as long. Makes it very, I guess, not as fun in my opinion. And here you can see still making a lot of workers, a lot of archers, just doing the basic classic, I guess, production. Just a few farms, shooting some wolves, but I guess my opponent did spawn in a slightly worse spot where he can't really keep on shooting these wolves to get some XP for his archers. He has to actually run out on the field and kill some neutrals the hard way. And I guess here we can see the cannon automatically fires, but I guess sometimes doesn't feel like firing, or it could be a little frustrating. Here my enemy is just making a lot of cannons, a lot of archers. Doesn't look like he's going to be making any, or thinking of making an expansion. Just clearing enemies around the map. I guess creeping towards my base. Over here, I just cleared these goblins. And then when I was clearing them, I noticed that my archers were kind of dying. And that's when I remembered that leveled up archers don't actually get more damage. Which is also another, I guess, part of a Reforged I dislike. There's kind of not much of a point to level up units anymore, because their armor they gain when they level up, it's like very little, and they don't get any damage increase no matter if they're level 2 or level 3, which just means that the more units someone has, the more damage you get, or DPS or whatever, which is a little, yes, there is some kind of tactics, but it's more like the person who can spam out more units is the one that's gonna have more damage on the field and pretty much going to be winning here. But over here, I was a little surprised. But I did do a similar tactic like I did in the classic mode. Just try and target fire the cannons. Just gonna make one of these archers run away. And here I managed to make a second base because they're also half as cheap, or not as expensive to make, and that's pretty much for every building in this mode, which is also a little, I guess, slightly good but slightly bad because it's very easy to make a second base. But I do like that you can make a second barracks a little faster. But because units are produced super slowly, it is pretty annoying, and so it's kind of mandatory to get a second barracks. It's just very hard to use up all your resources if you don't make more production buildings. And I guess over here I also made a peasant bows upgrade or whatever. Get the bows for my peasants, which is actually like twice or 3 times as effective in this mode, Reforged, because they do the same amount of damage as any level archer. And so this is pretty much like 20 archers that I could use to defend myself, like 40. And so, as we can see here, my enemy only has like 10 archers, I guess, or 15. And so you can just throw away all these workers at your enemy, and they're not gonna be able to do much because I can just produce even more workers, which I guess is also another disliked part in Reforged, in my opinion, is that units move super slowly, or even 50% slower than in the normal classic, which means that by the time that your units even make it to the enemy side of a map, then the enemy already has a second base, even more production and more economy, and then it's kind of, I would say, harder to come back from if you didn't make a second base like my enemy did here. I would call like the all-in type of play. Just try to kill me with cannons and archers, but I guess that didn't work because the cannons can't really do much because their auto attack is kind of not really effective. It would have been more effective for him to research the artillery ability. That way he can just bombard my barracks, just kill my workers, and then just murder me that way. But I guess maybe my enemy didn't know that that's an option. Oh no, it's over here. Another problem I see with these automatic cannons, that's more for the human side, is that there are units in front of it they can't fire. Just kind of makes it pointless to make it in cannons, because you're gonna have to move your units out of their way to allow your cannons to fire, but that makes them vulnerable. So there's kind of no point to its auto attack. But the orcs have a mortar that shoots over your archers or other units. That is a way more powerful cannon type of unit, I would say, because it also has a very wide area of splash. And so, like, a few mortars are like twice or 3 times more effective than 2 or 3 cannons, because their, I guess, attack is very narrow. And I guess that's also a little funny that Reforged is more based on who has more units. It's one that's going to be winning. His units don't do more damage when they level up, so having single target cannons kind of makes them ineffective. But anyways, my enemy made a second base over here. He's getting a shield ability, so maybe he's going to be making some swordsmen. And here I tried to see what's in the middle. Maybe try and slow down my enemy from attacking me again. Just keep them occupied here. In the meantime, I have my own smithy. Oh, and also you need a smithy to make any swordsman, which is why I still don't have this outpost. It's also another an annoying part of this Reforged. So there's kind of got a real point too, like trying to get swordsman in the beginning of the game when you're a human player, because it's going to be just sort of resources that are going to be annoying to use. It's just going to be easier to just play as orc and start with warriors. But I guess it does make it a little dynamic, but not much, I guess, strategically different. Because you just spam one unit, because it's easier to just make the unit that you have unlocked right away. And so you're not going to be really transferring into swordsman or into archers as orc player, because there's not much of a benefit. And so it's just whatever playstyle you have, just want to spam archers, then just play as human. If you want to spam a lot of melee units, then just play as orc. Oh, and also I guess another major part of Reforged that I dislike is that all your workers can only hold 10 gold, but I think they also mine 50% slower, so you're gonna take forever to actually get any gold, to actually make any units. So you do have bigger economies, you could say, or more workers in comparison to the amount of military units you have, but they kind of, I guess, gain 50% less resources, so it just makes the games very slow and more macro heavy, I guess I would say. For fewer players, it would be a little annoying. You can't just sit in one base like in classic mode and actually have a viable winning strategy. Because if you don't have a second base, or I guess third, then good luck winning in Reforged. From here, I managed to somehow find my enemy by accident. I was just trying to see he spawned on top here, because he did attack from this direction. So that's why I happened to find him, kill his army, and here I tried to maybe attack him here. Then here I realized that he can also throw away millions and millions of workers that are just gonna slaughter all my archers, because they all do the same amount of damage. So I guess that is a little interesting, but I wouldn't say much of a benefit that it like deletes a lot of rushes, because it's just a well-placed barracks, a lot of workers they can throw into it. It's gonna stop a lot of beginning rushes first 5 or 10 minutes into the game. And here I started to make a third base, because I was just spamming out workers, and my 2 main gold mines kind of got full, so I was trying to transfer some workers to a third base. On here, I guess I also remembered that unlike in asymmetrical, you can only get cavaliers with a tier 3 house, but in Reforged you can actually get a tier 2 house and then make a stables and then produce a lot of cavaliers, so that is a little different. But just like any other unit in this Reforged mode, is also pretty annoying. So you don't really get that much of I guess movement advantage. These Cavaliers are also extremely slow when they move. It's gonna be a little hard to run down enemy units, I would say, in comparison to Classic, where you can just keep running through the enemy's army. It's blobbed up. You can just destroy it way more effectively. And here my enemy decides to try to take this position, but I think I notice and just tell my units to run away. So that worked pretty well for me. And as I said or mentioned before, units move very slowly. It's gonna make, I guess, attacking your enemy very annoying, because your attacks are gonna be arriving at their base very late. And there's pretty much gonna be a big defender's advantage, because you're gonna have a lot more units being produced in your base compared to taking all these units from your base and then tell them to run all the way over here. It's gonna take him at least 30 seconds. It's gonna be way too late to support your main push. We hear my main, or what do we call it? My enemy. It's making a third main hall or town hall. But I already have my town hall. That is third one for a while, and I think I reached the peasant limit not too far from now. Oh, and I guess here you needed a church to get a tier 3, because you unlock it at a tier 2 house, which means you can make a lot of apprentices, but you do need to make a church to make them, which is a lot of resources, instead of having to just make them out of a town hall. So it's more resource heavy, I would say. It'll be more effective to just make more barracks and just spam your way to victory. And here my patrolling Cavaliers got caught here, but as you can see here, all of these cannons are basically just useless, because they're just blocking a lot of cannon fire from all the units that are in front of them. And here there's going to be a very funny interaction. But here I also managed to stabilize my food and get the heal ability, so there's pretty much no way for my enemy to win here. But here I wanted to mention that a good amount of these cannons are going to be firing but not damaging anything, because there's random units in front, but my archers can actually shoot through my own units and kill these cannons, which is sort of funny that how useless these cannons are. And here my enemy pretty much loses his own army. Whole load of cannons, a lot of swordsmen. And I kind of didn't really lose that much. And here you can see Cavaliers and Archers like moving at a very similar speed, like super slow. It's like a horse is not even charging, it's just slowly walking. A little funny. This is their fastest speed here. But I guess that's what the developer wants to try out. And I guess people can play it if you want to, but in my opinion, it's sort of not as good as Classic. Sort of more boring. It just makes the games longer than they have to be by just making the units not mean much, because we don't gain any more extra damage, and all the economy is slowed down by 50% because your peasants can't really mine more, so it becomes a game of spam, I would say. We're just producing all the units. So there you have it. Somehow managed to survive against my enemy here and just outproduce him by just making more units, more bases, and more production, I guess. Let's see the results. Here you can see that I mined only 20,000 gold. It was already 20 minutes. In the classic mode, you would mine around 40,000 gold, or even 50,000. So it does make you play longer games, but I guess produce slightly more units, but not that much. Because here it costs a little cheaper. The cost is cheaper than a classic, so that's why there's more units, but the gameplay itself is not that much fun, because it's more of like a person who makes more units is more favorable compared to a person who uses their units more, I guess, of tactics, trying to clear all the neutrals, level up specific units so they're more powerful. They can use them in specific battles. And I guess these are just my thoughts. You can tell me your thoughts on this Reforged mod in the comments, and I guess that's pretty much it. If you liked the video, you can leave a like, leave a comment. If you want to see more videos on the Scouring Early Access, then you can subscribe. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.